If you served in the Guard or Reserve, there is a specific breakdown in the VA claim system that quietly stalls thousands of claims every single year, and it happens because the VA assumes your service records don't exist when they simply never requested them. Under federal regulation 38 CFR 3.159, the VA is required by law to gather your military treatment records. To fulfill that requirement, their processors use an automated digital system to pull files electronically as soon as you file a claim. When everything works the way the regulation intended, those records transfer almost instantly. The catch is that the automated system only works for active duty files. Because National Guard and Reserve records are held in separate state and unit repositories, that initial search comes back blank. Unless the processor knows to manually trigger a secondary search, your claim sits in a pile for months until it gets denied for missing evidence. By the end of this video, you'll know where your records actually live, why the VA's primary system skips over them, how to pull them yourself, and the exact escalation code that legally forces the VA to execute the search. To understand why the VA stops looking for your records, you have to look at federal regulation 38 CFR 3.159. This rule defines the VA's duty to assist, but it splits all records into two distinct legal categories: federal military records and non-federal records. That classification dictates how long the VA is legally required to look. For federal records, like active duty service treatment records or your official military personnel file, the VA must search continuously until the records are found or certified missing. But for non-federal records, which include state-held National Guard files managed by a state adjutant general, regulations only require the VA to send one initial request and one follow-up notice before shutting down the search entirely. That two-attempt limit is where Guard and Reserve claims get trapped. When those two requests to a state archive go unanswered, the claims processor isn't breaking the rules by stopping. They are following 38 CFR 3.159 to the letter. They mark their legal obligation fulfilled, close the search, and process your claim with an empty medical file. Think of the VA's search rule like a delivery service handling two types of packages. For active duty federal files, they knock on the door continuously until someone answers. But for state guard files, the rule says they leave two sticky notes on the door: stop driving down your street and report the package as undeliverable, even though your records are sitting right inside the building. Understanding this regulatory limit changes your strategy, because the VA legally closes the search on state repositories after two missed responses. You cannot rely on their default search. The proactive veteran identifies the exact state repository or unit holding their service treatment records and submits that specific location directly into the record to force a targeted request before the VA's search window closes. When a claim enters this records gap, the timeline stretches out fast. Under VA Manual M21-1, the VA places your disability claim into a development pending record status. If the VA's requests to a state archive go unanswered, 38 CFR 3.159E requires the VA to issue a formal notice of inability to obtain records, a notice that can take months to arrive while your file sits unassigned. The trap occurs when a service member assumes the VA is actively hunting down those files behind the scenes. In reality, months pass while the claim sits idle in pending records status. Under 38 U.S.C. 5107A, federal law dictates that the ultimate responsibility to support a claim rests on the claimant, not the VA. When those months of silence end, the VA renders a decision based solely on available evidence, frequently resulting in a records not in file denial that adds months of additional review cycles. That delay carries a direct financial cost under federal payment rules. Under 38 CFR 3.400, your effective date dictates when your monthly payments begin. Every month a claim sits stalled in pending records is a month your disability compensation is delayed, stopping your immediate cash flow and pushing back your access to VA healthcare enrollment. Think of an unassisted record search like dropping a car off at a repair shop where the keys are stored in a separate lockbox down the street. The mechanics cannot start working on the car until those keys arrive at the main desk, so the vehicle stays parked outside while the shop moves on to files that arrived with complete documentation. Understanding these federal rules puts the schedule back under your control because 38 U.S.C. 5107A requires evidence in the file to render a decision, relying on default automated searches, risks long delays. The proactive veteran takes ownership of the search, gathering their own service treatment records from their unit or state repository and filing those records directly alongside their claim to force a decision on schedule. Now that you are aware of the gaps and flaws in the system the VA uses to retrieve Guard and Reserve records, you have two choices in front of you. 1. Submit your claim with the VA's duty to assist, also known as a standard claim, and work directly with the VA to ensure your records are not only found, but processed in totality, including personnel, medical, and pay files. Or 2. Gather your records yourself by finding and requesting where each record resides and submit them directly to the VA with your claim, which is also known as a fully developed claim. Choosing a submission process depends on your specific situation, and just know that each avenue carries its own rules and regulations. If you choose the standard claim path, you are relying on 38 CFR 3.159, which means you must aggressively monitor the VA's 30-day development windows and supply exact repository addresses when their automated searches stall out. If you choose the fully developed claim path under 38 CFR 3.160, you bypass those automated searches entirely by attaching your complete service treatment records at the exact moment you file. In practice, taking Path 1 means you monitor the VA's claims processor. When the VA sends an initial request to a state archive, you track that request against their internal 30-day timer. If the request goes unanswered, you do not wait for a denial letter. You immediately submit a formal statement citing the exact state adjutant general office, unit archive, or DFAS location, holding those files to force a targeted follow-up. In practice, taking Path 2 means executing a complete pre-gather before the VA ever touches your file. You submit Standard Form 180 directly to your state adjutant general or unit readiness (NCO) 4 to 6 weeks before applying. Once you hold your service treatment records and active duty orders in hand, you package them together and submit them alongside your claim, locking the VA into a fast-track evaluation schedule. Think of these two pathways like navigating a highway toll booth. Path 1 is using the general lane, where the attendant has to manually verify your paperwork at every gate before raising the bar. Path 2 is using the express pass. You've already pre-scanned all your documentation at the entrance, so the system lets you drive straight through without stopping. Whether you choose to guide the VA through their duty to assist or gather your records independently, success comes down to active control. The proactive veteran never leaves their claim on autopilot. They either monitor the VA's search timers during a standard claim or submit a complete record package under a fully developed claim to ensure their service history is fully recognized. Staying ahead of the process requires knowing what is happening behind closed doors. When you log into VA.gov to check your claim, you won't see a big red warning sign if your search gets stuck. Instead, the VA uses hidden tracking codes under its M2 1-1 operational manual. The two main codes for Guard and Reserve members are NG1 for National Guard records and RV1 for Reserve records. You can spot these under the Tracked Items tab in your online account. That was a lot of legal jargon, so here's what that means in plain English. NG1 and RV1 are not public forms you fill out. You won't find an NG1 form to download anywhere. They are internal buttons that VA workers click inside their system to send an automated request to your state or unit archives. While you can't click those buttons yourself, knowing they exist lets you call out the VA when those requests get stuck. When a VA worker turns on an NG1 or RV1 code, the system starts a 30-day countdown timer called a suspense date. Most people assume an active code means someone is actively digging through boxes in a basement. But if that code stays open past 30 days, or suddenly disappears from your tracker with no records uploaded, that is your early warning light that the search hit a brick wall. Simply put, do not sit back and wait for a denial letter. The second you see an NG1 or RV1 code freeze up, you can take action. You fill out a simple personal statement and upload it straight into your claim file. You call out the pending NG1 or RV1 code by name, write down the exact address of your state adjutant general or unit, and tell the VA to send a targeted request directly to that address before making any decisions. If the VA closes your claim anyway and denies you because records were not in file, you don't have to start over. You file for a higher level review under 38 CFR 3.2601. Federal law under 38 CFR 3.159 says the VA has a legal duty to assist you in getting records. Closing an NG1 or RV1 request without documented proof that the records do not exist creates grounds for a higher level review. A senior reviewer must examine whether the VA made adequate efforts to obtain the records, and if the reviewer finds a duty to assist error, the claim is returned for proper development and search. Now, what if you manage to get your own medical records from your old unit after the VA already denied your claim? That is where a supplemental claim under 38 CFR 3.2501 comes in. You hand the VA your records as new and relevant evidence. This legally forces them to reopen your file, look at the fresh proof, and pay you all back money from your original filing date. Think of the NG1 or RV1 code like a check engine light on your car's dashboard. Ignoring the light won't fix the engine. It just guarantees you break down on the side of the highway. Spotting the code early lets you pull over, open the hood, and fix the loose connection before the car stops running entirely. You don't have to track scattered archives and VA timers by hand. We built the NG1/RV1 tracking dashboard. Enter your state adjutant general location, your unit name, and your claim status. The dashboard monitors your tracked items tab for NG1 and RV1 codes, alerts you if codes sit inactive past the 30-day suspense date, and gives you the exact text to paste into your personal statement when you need to escalate. It's built, it's waiting, it's yours. Use it. Before we close, nothing here is a promise of any particular rating. Every claim is different. What we give you is the cleanest way we know to execute. For Guard and Reserve, women veterans, step by step, the frameworks that tie it all together, or benefits news, subscribe to the channel that fits your fight. If the VA denies your claim, citing records not in file, you have a path forward. In the next episode, we walk through filing a higher level review, step by step, from recognizing a duty to assist error to demanding the VA search state archives it never searched the first time. Unlock your file, claim your status,